When you hear Jimi Hendrix Stratocaster, most people picture his famous 1969 Woodstock performance and him playing his white Stratocaster with a maple fingerboard. However, he played many different Fender Stratocasters throughout his career with rosewood fingerboards, including the one that was with him prior to and through the earliest days of the Jimi Hendrix experience. The 1964 Olympic white Fender Stratocaster guitar that Linda Keith gave to Jimi Hendrix holds a crucial place in rock history, as it played a key role in Jimi Hendrix's early career and eventual rise to fame. Above giving him this guitar, she gave him something of far greater value. She encouraged him to harness the greatness within himself and channel it into something magical. She inspired him to reinvent himself, evolving from a hired gun rotating through the backing bands of various artists into a captivating showman at center stage, leaving audiences in awe. In this video, we are going to talk about Jimi and Linda Keith's relationship, the known information surrounding the special Stratocaster, and talk about some of the notable performances with this legendary instrument. Linda Keith was an English fashion model and part of the 1960s London music scene. She spent time living in New York City and frequented clubs in Greenwich Village. Her cousin was Paul Kossoff, a guitarist in the English band Free. She was also known for her relationships with high-profile musicians, notably Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, who at that time was away on tour as they had a rule that girlfriends were not able to travel with the band. Keith Richards owned several guitars, and it's widely believed that Linda loaned Jimi Hendrix Keith's 1964 white Fender Stratocaster. Whether the guitar was technically taken or merely borrowed remains a topic of debate, but what's certain is that Linda was determined to equip Hendrix with a high-quality instrument worthy of his exceptional talent, an instrument that he really needed in those days. In early 1966, Jimi Hendrix was playing as a backup guitarist for acts like Curtis Knight and the Squires. However, he grew frustrated with playing in others' shadows and began seeking opportunities to front his own band. In late May of 1966, Linda Keith and her model friends first saw Jimi Hendrix playing at the Cheetah Club in New York, where Jimi was playing with Curtis Knight and the Squires. Mesmerized by his extraordinary skill, Linda Keith felt he deserved a much larger audience. She was immediately struck by Jimi Hendrix's raw talent and stage presence, feeling that he had immense potential and lacked the opportunity and exposure to showcase it fully. She stated that he possessed indefinable qualities that really made her feel something. She was struck by him and just had to meet him. She had her friend approach him afterward and invited him back to her apartment on 63rd Street. They listened to records including Bob Dylan songs and experienced LSD together.
Bob Dylan have a great deal of influence on you at all?
Yeah, mentally more so though than any other way.
In what way? Did he sort of turn your mind on and get you started thinking, or what?
Yeah, him and this girl named Linda Keith turned my mind on.
According to Linda Keith, she asked him why he played with Curtis Knight, to which he replied, "I don't have my own guitar," and she told him she would get him one. He also played her some of his own songs like Red House. Linda has said that he made a decision right then and there he was going to get a band together, finish writing his own songs, and perform them. He said that if Bob Dylan can do it, so can he. Up until that point, he admittedly did not have the confidence in his own creativity, but something happened in him that night and he became ready. With this shift and Linda Keith becoming his biggest supporter, he was ready to take on the world. So let's take a look at the guitar itself. The guitar that Linda Keith loaned Jimi Hendrix was a 1964 Olympic white Fender Stratocaster with a rosewood fingerboard and a white pickguard. It has become known over the years to fans as the Linda Strat. This was a guitar that is said to have lived at Keith Richards' apartment in New York City. Jimi reportedly had told his girlfriend Kathy Etchingham, who he eventually met in his early days after going to London, that the Strat was bought for him by Linda Keith. It was a right-handed guitar, which was strung upside down, as Jimi Hendrix, of course, was left-handed. It contained the now sought-after, hotter black bobbin pickups, which were only used for a couple of years. We can fairly easily date the Stratocaster to be built around mid-1964 because it contained the newer Fender Transition logo, which was different than the original design, often referred to as the spaghetti logo, and it contained a fourth patent number as well. The very next year, 1965, the headstock was changed from the sleek and small headstock to a large headstock, sometimes referred to as a CBS-era headstock. This was around the time where Leo Fender had sold the company to CBS but remained on as a consultant. In 1964, the white Strats would have came with a celluloid mint green tinted pickguard, but changed in the fall to a white ABS plastic pickguard. In June 1966, Jimi formed his own band Jimmy James and the Blue Flames, performing 6 nights a week at the Café Wa in Greenwich Village. Café Wa was a legendary venue in Greenwich Village known for featuring up-and-coming artists. The band performed several nights a week, attracting local music lovers and industry insiders. Linda encouraged many musicians, including Keith Richards and the Rolling Stones management, to take notice of Hendrix, though they did not initially see Jimi Hendrix's potential. In early August of 1966, Linda introduced Jimi Hendrix to Chas Chandler, the bassist of The Animals, and now an inspiring record producer. Chandler saw Hendrix perform and he was also blown away by his talent, offering him to manage him and take him to England around September of 1966. This would be a pivotal moment for Hendrix as it led to the formation of the Jimi Hendrix Experience and his eventual rise to stardom in the UK and United States. Hendrix agreed to relocate, seeing it as an opportunity to launch his career in Europe, where the music scene is more receptive to experimental artists. Jimi Hendrix arrived in England on September 24, 1966. Having only been in the UK for a week, on October 1, 1966, Hendrix got a chance to sit in on a couple songs with the band Cream using his white Fender Stratocaster at the London Polytechnic. This was a gig in which Eric Clapton, a legendary guitarist in his own right, immediately regretted hearing him shred through the Howling Wolf song Killing Floor. Hendrix, along with his flashy movements, utilizing dive bombs with the whammy, and playing behind his head, made Clapton, who had been adorned as a guitar god, to reevaluate his position. Eric Clapton, though, was impressed with his playing, and they eventually became friends. Jack Bruce, the bassist of Cream, is even quoted as saying, "Eric was a master guitar player, but Jimi was some kind of force of nature." While in the UK, Chas Chandler introduced Jimi to many musicians and industry contacts, setting the stage for Hendrix to form a new band. Noel Redding, a professional guitarist, was willing to switch to bass guitar as he likely saw the great potential and opportunities that would come once he joined Jimi. Chas Chandler also introduced Jimi to Mitch Mitchell, who was also a touring session musician who would round out the Jimi Hendrix Experience on drums. The white Linda Strat was also used at the first Jimi Hendrix Experience show on October 13th of 1966 at the Novelty in France. This short French tour was from October 13th to October 18th, 1966, with a total of 4 shows, with their 15-minute performance at the Olympia Theatre in Paris on October 18th being the earliest known recording. They were the supporting act for Johnny Hallyday. After signing a record contract, on October 23rd he recorded his famous cover version of the song Hey Joe at a studio in London. The band went on to play a small batch of shows from November 8th to November 11th at the Big Apple Club in Munich, Germany. In mid-November they played at the Bag of Nails Club in London with some of the biggest names in rock present like John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Jeff Beck, Pete Townsend, Brian Jones, and Mick Jagger. On December 13th, Jimi appeared on the TV show Ready Steady Go, and afterwards he recorded the songs Foxy Lady, Can You See Me, Lover Confusion, Third Stone from the Sun, and Red House, and they were all likely recorded on this guitar. Around early January of 1967, it seems this guitar was delegated to being a backup guitar, and he started to favor a Sunburst Stratocaster. And the white Strat was last photographed at the Roundhouse in London, England on February 22, 1967. Some say the Linda Strat may have been stolen after that show. In recent years, John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers has played a white relic Stratocaster live that is rumored to be the famed Jimi Hendrix Linda Strat. It is said that this guitar once belonged to the EXP collection and belonged to Jimi Hendrix. I've seen conflicting reports if John is in fact the owner or if it was loaned to him. And then I've seen reports that John's guitar tech, Henry Trejo, has stated that it was one of Jimi's guitars. But if you look at the logo on each of them, the F on the Fender logo appears to be placed more toward the bottom and closer to the curved edge. So if it is in fact a Linda guitar, perhaps it has had a replacement decal or replacement neck. It's also possible that it could be one of Jimi's guitars, just not Linda, as he did own quite a few Stratocasters. One would think that the ownership history on this one, which is at many times needed to authenticate the claims, would largely be absent if in fact the Linda Strat was stolen in 1967. On May 12, 1967, the RU Experience album was released in the UK, and within just 4 years, Jimi Hendrix would pass away at the peak popularity of his career. The Fender Stratocaster in general, with its stylish yet simplistic functionality, thanks in part to Jimi Hendrix and others, became a household name and a symbol of long-lasting quality and durability. Like Kurt Cobain, I love the image of left-handed Jimmy playing the guitar seemingly upside down. It always looked cool to me. I know it's probably a minimal effect on the tone with the altered string tension, whammy bar placement, and pull piece alignment, but the visual impact of Hendrix playing an upside-down Strat added to his mystique and persona. The unconventional appearance of this setup contributed to his larger-than-life identity and stage show. Alright, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Smash that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.